Hello, welcome to Real Magic Review. That's what it is, because that's what it just said on that lovely flashy thing there, didn't it? Welcome to Monday. I don't know what day it is. I live in this place now. It's become like a proper full-time thing, and no complaints. I love doing this, it's great to start a live show because I've been recording all weekend and watching reviews and it's brilliant. But we'll get into that in a minute. We'll have a nice chat because I realise now I've started talking. I've just been doing my vocal warm-ups I've got to do now. And I haven't talked for about 2 days other than at a camera. And now there's other people there. It's a bit like, whoa, I know there's people there. But yeah, cool. So welcome. Before we carry on, the usual things. There's a reason why we say this every time as people on YouTube, because it's so important. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What you doing? Go on. Get on with it. Press the subscribe button. Do the little bell icon so you know when I go live, so I don't have to plaster it all over Facebook and annoy all the magicians groups, which I do at the moment. But that'd be good. Check out cardmagiccourse.com. There you go. There's my card. They're all courses. They're not just they're all different courses you get for everything. Cardmagiccourse.com. Live sessions. New stuff added every month. I just put CJ asked for Sybil, you know, the flourish, and I got all nervous because he's like, oh, can you do a video on Sybil? So I kind of went, no, all right, I don't know, it's a really hard thing to teach, but I think it's okay. I think I did it all right. So have a look at that. And importantly, and this is super important, if you're not sure and you want something for nothing, you can have a free course, quite an in-depth course this is, on the spread cull, which I truly believe is the most powerful move in card magic. This isn't a rubbish freebie. This is off the course, and I've expanded it and created some new footage. So you get a free course on the spread cull. Just go to cardmagiccourse.com/cull, C-U-L-L. It's such an amazing move. I use it all the time. It's my favourite move. It always has been since I learned it. And that's for you for free. So cardmagiccourse.com/cull. And then I'll be sending you every now and then really cool stuff. I'm going to not spam anybody. You're going to be getting nice things, stuff that means a lot to me, different bits of theory and things like that. And you can unsubscribe anytime. That's totally cool. So it's all about honesty, transparency, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was Connected 2021. Let's have a look at this first and say hello to everyone, because that's kind of what we're doing, isn't it? Hey Manish, how you doing in India, mate? Hope you're good. Andy, hi Steve, how are you? I'm really well, thanks, mate. Alan Kane, good to see you, mate. Card Magic Course member. Rob from Winnipeg, I hope it's all right, man, over there. It's freezing last time you mentioned this, I think, but I think it's probably better now, is it? Toronto, hey Tom, how are you? I hope you enjoyed your DMC deck that I sent out to you. California, it's proper internet. It's lovely, isn't it, that we can all get together. Mika, how you doing? Martin, Sexy White Shop, how you doing, mate? It's nice, and thanks, Gid, Hazar, and Gary. Sorry, I haven't missed anybody out. So, yeah, I've been in here since Saturday, Sunday, and today I've got here at 6 o'clock every morning. I've been getting up at 5, getting in, and getting through filming reviews and learning stuff for reviews. And this is what it's like now, which is great. I love it. No complaints. But I'm a bit tired. I need a holiday from learning magic tricks. Who'd have thought it? So I've got some notes in front of me because I've just finished watching Connected 2021 from Vanishing Ink, and I've been watching it all day, and I watched a little bit last night live, but I couldn't manage a lot of it live, so I watched it all day. And this is Vanishing Ink's virtual magic convention on virtual magic specifically. And I wasn't sure what this was going to be like. I've done a lot of reading on virtual magic. I've done loads of watching. I've watched a lot of the Connected. I've got loads to watch as well. And I was thinking, is it going to be overkill? And it really surprised me. It's I'll run through briefly. There's so much, and I don't want to be here for 3 days. I'll run through briefly what was going on. Okay, so this is kind of what it was. So I'll try not to make it too procedural. So first of all, it was the guys from Video Chat Magic, Steve Thompson, Will Houston, and Harry DeCruz, did a really nice lecture on not only on Video Chat Magic, but the stuff that they've been talking about. If you don't know what Video Chat Magic is, have a look at my review of it. It's a charity-based thing that they put together briefly on when right at the beginning of lockdown, a subscription service where you could get all the best thinkers, you know, that's arguable, but a lot of the best thinkers in magic, coming up with new ideas on how we could really make virtual magic not just a kind of bad alternative to what we were doing already, but actually something that within its own right that was different, but just as good, and making it a different thing. And it was really inspiring that, and that was a great, and it was all digital. Like I said, you'd read it online, and there were films and bits of software. And this was really going through some of the stuff that I'd read about and seen snippets of, but really demonstrating some of that, but also talking about the workings of it. So it kind of felt like a good old lecture, you know, here's the trick and here's what we're doing, but it felt different as well, a bit like, not just because it was on a virtual setting, but I really enjoyed it. I thought, God, I've read about this stuff so much. It was brilliant to see the stuff. Harry did an amazing trick with a kind of thought of named card in box trick, with a deck behind him, which I won't ruin in case any of you watch it, because you can still get, it's still going to be available to download this stuff, which is great. But really using the environment and kind of making magic into a show. Will did a couple of things. He did a brilliant trick with Josh at the beginning, which was a kind of thought of card, which a mess of cards on a table, you just think of any one of them, which I thought was just really funny. And a lot of this stuff, the method's just as entertaining as the trick itself. It's almost like you could do it and then say to the person, right, oh, that was done, and they'd be just as impressed. And then there was all the stuff with Magic Mask, which was just, if you've not seen that, it's so good. Right? And you forget how good it is when you know what it is. And again, I won't go into the workings of it, but it's just Mark Kirsten and, another creator, which I totally has gone out of my head, the Creative Magic Mask. I'm so sorry. Which is something you kind of install on your computer that allows you to do really brilliant things. But then it goes on to this way we can play with time on the computer. And it was just so, it was kind of taking something that you could do something very obvious with and then exploring it further and seeing where you could take it that isn't so obvious. And just really, really inspiring stuff. And then Steve Thompson came in and talked about how Video Chat Magic was put together, and importantly, they now have released a book of it, which is really exciting. A PDF, which I really usually wouldn't be that excited about PDFs. I love reading a book, but it's going to have all the links that you need for the different softwares in it, and of course the book itself. And that's really exciting because I do think if you want to do any virtual magic, and this is going to go on for quite a while, there was a survey at the beginning, which what was it? I think it was something like 80% of people. I can't remember. It was Matt Zack that hosted it really well, actually. This is 8% of people that had surveyed in businesses said that they expect this to be going on for another kind of 2 years or something like that. So it's, you know, it's not going away. And for me, learning this virtual stuff isn't just about pandemic. It's about how we can do things, you know, to impress clients, you know, potential clients online without going to see them. You know, even if you got a wedding, you know, pop on Zoom and I'll show you something. To try and get a wedding booking. So, you know, even when this is all over and we're back to normal, I think this stuff's really important. Anyway, then there was Matthew Gilmore. I don't know about the order of this, because like I said, I watched some of it today and not in order, but Matthew Gilmore talked about the tech, which again can be really dull, but like a lot of this stuff, I wish I'd have had this years ago. I have spent years messing around with tech, and I don't mean just because I love tech. I mean just trying to get, you know, when I'm filming myself, trying to get, thinking of which, I'm not happy with that light, trying to get it looking decent. And, you know, and to have someone just talk me through it was something I always looked for. And there's so much stuff online, but it's all kind of mixed up and it's not specifically made for magic. And it, you know, just talking about lighting. He took his garage and made it into something a lot more impressive and sort of took you through the steps of him doing that and, you know, explained that you don't have to spend loads of money. And the difference it made was incredible. And it got me thinking about how we can change things up a bit here. You know, it looks okay at the back, but how can I make it look a bit better? So that was great. Then there was a short piece by Royal Payne, and she's a kind of Instagram superstar, well, a social media star, talking about leveraging social media. And again, you know, if you're getting into this stuff, and you know, I'm old, I'm never going to be an Instagram star, but there was still stuff that I got from it about kind of how you can, you know, stay in your lane, know what your brand is, you know, how you can sort of get yourself onto it without doing the same as everybody else, but kind of be unique. And it was again, really, really useful. I'd like to a bit more on that, actually, would have been useful. And for people, again, getting into the game, it's just going to fast track that learning. And it's not just about becoming famous on social media. It's about using it to enhance, to kind of create awareness of who we are again for work. So I think, it's a really important thing. It's not going away. Now, then we had Jason Saran, who was doing a talk on marketing. Now, I've spent a lot of time listening to marketing talks, not just in magic, and I was really surprised at how inspired. It was not just about marketing, but it was about getting the show together and the attention to detail and talking about how, it's the big thing I got from it was how important it is to work with other people. And I'm one of these people that tries to do everything on my own. I don't work with anyone, and I wish I did, especially this week. But just how important it is to get people, know what you're good at and get people to do the other things. And, I know some people go, well, I can't afford that. But people, just to partner with someone on a project. And I came out of that going, I really do have to, start working with other people and working with a director. And it was just very inspiring. I came away going, no, I've really got to he talked about this, a show deck where he's basically written down everything in detail about that show. So what you can do if you're doing a virtual show, but even a non-virtual show, you've got this file, or a really nicely designed file that tells the client literally everything about your show, how long it is, what about it, what it needs, all that. So you can basically share that around without having to go through the kind of having to write down different things every time you sort of get a gig, which I tend to do, writing proposal. It's kind of like, there it is. And again, brilliant. And he's talking about how many shows he'd done. I was thinking, what a great thing, and I'd love to see his show. I still haven't seen it. He's done like 450 or something like that of the same show. And what I thought of that, just saw it on my notes. We're all getting sort of tied up with the gear and stuff, but he does it all in normal Zoom. He doesn't use OBS. He doesn't use any of these things that I've got. He's just on native in Zoom. And it was like, we don't. Yes, I do like having a separate camera angle, but we don't need to get really techie. It can be really simple. And watching this stuff, actually, I realised that after a while, I was so engaged in the speakers that I kind of forgot about, yes, you're doing a show, it's different, but when you're really engaged, you don't have to spend so much on getting it just perfect. Some people were maybe a little bit more focused than others and had better gear, but it didn't matter that much as long as people were professional. And what I'll say about this is everybody was really professional. There was no one that I kind of thought, God, they haven't really worked on this, have they? Like in some conventions, you go, oh, this is a last-minute job. When you see a lecturer that's kind of running out of material, it's kind of like a best man speech, isn't it? When they haven't really worked on it. But everybody's just concise and to the point and great. Then my favourite, which I think is always going to be my favourite, Carissa Hendricks talking about performance tips. I think Carissa is absolutely stunning at what she does. Everybody was great, but she was so engaging. Not just, I saw a Lucy Darling show, but just as a speaker, from everything she talked about, of how to put a show together, how they put her show together. And again, I'm watching the show times and the Q&As, I've heard a lot of this stuff. And just very funny, very engaging, the way she uses language, the way she describes and teaches things in a really non-patronising way, and she gave the stuff she gives away as well. She gave away lecture notes, but also an Excel sheet of every single piece of gear they use in their show. And it's not to say you need all this, but what you can see is kind of like, just read it. I mean, I'm talking everything. What gloves they use, what tape they use. It's just nuts. Everything. It's kind of like, how long did that take? And how important is that? If you really want to get together a show, it's not to copy and kind of go, oh, I can get the same stuff, but it's just to have an idea. And I've wasted so much time, and I'm talking so much time in kind of trying to, what should I use for this and that? And it's just all there. And it isn't expensive stuff. Even the camera that they use, isn't expensive. It's a mirrorless and it's a decent one, but it's not top end. And I just thought it was, the lights they're using aren't the best ones. So, it's such a useful thing, just so generous. So that was brilliant. And that was she was talking about how important it is. She's going to make me buy more books on Amazon, which I don't have to. You can get it on YouTube. But how important it is to learn the language of cinema when you're talking about the tone of your show and character, and not character as in playing a character, but what you're trying to get across, and every single thing is communicating something to what you're wearing, to the colours, and again, I know so little about colour, so it really helped me. And then she gave you this anamorphic image, you know, that so many people are using now, which is brilliant. And I don't mean that in a detrimental way. I mean, I've seen it in like 3 different shows where it looks like you've got something on the table, but you can pick it up and it's actually just a piece of paper and an image of it. If you've not seen that, it's great. And incidentally, one of her shows, a Halloween show, Lucy Darling show, is available on YouTube for free. So, you know, search that out as well. And she introduced the word spoopy to me, which I think was one of my favourite things as well. Danny D'Ortiz was Danny D'Ortiz. He's just great, isn't he? So he was brilliant, very passionate, talking about connecting with an audience in the way, you know, when he's doing a stage show, he's got people around him for the whole show. And I like that, you know, he's not sending people out, they're there, they're part of it, they're with it. And he tries to do that on Zoom in a different way, and how he connects with people. And he didn't only talk about that in a kind of fluff way, it was really, really solid pieces of advice. He showed a clip of him performing a Zoom show, but to a live audience. So there's a live audience, I think in Spain, maybe Portugal, I'm not sure, but where he's on a screen on Zoom at home, and they're all in there with masks. It's still strange to me to see, you know, the host of the live show was wearing a mask and the audience were all in masks. It's still a really weird thing, isn't it? But and how he dealt with that, and that was really good. But his tricks were stunning. He'd done this very quick kind of name any card, and he would find the 4 of a kind based on that card, and the name card on top of the box. So really, and he was talking about, you don't have to do this stuff that is always in people's hands. You know, there are ways of, you know, do a little bit of that. You know, we're doing all this stuff on Zoom, and it happens with them. But you know, there's nothing wrong with doing just card tricks. You know, with a close-up, Matt, and he just absolutely fried them. He'd done his Triumph, which is just amazing, and finishes with this any card, any number, which, you know, happens when the spectator's holding a deck. And that, again, was so good. And it made me realise, actually, a couple of these, when I was watching David Parr as well, that, you know, as magicians, we go, well, it's not any card, is it? Because he chose a card. But it didn't matter, because I realised watching it that I'd kind of half forgotten that they'd chosen a card, and that's what they're experiencing. So, again, trying to watch it as a layperson, which was really interesting as well. Are you with me? It's a big one, isn't it? And then David Parr, this was the penultimate one that I watched, Mentalism, which had 3 effects, which were really lovely. He's got a really nice way of explaining and also presenting effects that could be really dull, and that's not a bad thing to say. You know, he does a great kind of any card, any number, using it, and the way of doing it is so easy and completely. I was like, I think I know how that's done, but I wasn't quite right. Absolutely brilliant for lay people, and completely would fry them, and super easy, taking a kind of concept that most of us know and using it in a different way. But taking like an initial, you know, what we could say to someone, you know, any 2 initials of a friend of yours, and he's got that in a glass that's been in view all the time on a folded piece of paper, like an initial prediction. But he made it really interesting with the way he talks about them initials and the premise, and it made me realise that those kind of tricks really need premise. I've talked about this before. You know, when you're doing certain mentalism tricks, they're so amazing. If you don't have premise, like I talked about with Timesmith, you could sort of go, hey, name a time, but, you know, all that stuff. But if you give it some premise, it just makes it so much more of a meaningful experience. And it doesn't have to be a massive amount of meaning. And I'm not going to give his presentations away. But again, the thing he did at the end, he's got a lovely sort of card and envelope, name card and envelope, which again, he had a great premise. This kind of a reading cards thing that he talked about. It's kind of like giving a reading with playing cards to the actual spectator. They do it themselves. They cut in slow. It's a bit like a tarot thing, but he says he's not a fortune teller, and it's just really, really nice stuff, and really, again, inspiring, and no knuckle busting stuff at all. Just really clever thinking. And I really found that with this convention, what it made me realise was how creative this community is. I mean, just incredible. You know, the video chat magic right the way through. Everybody's just put so much thought into this, and it shows. You know, like I've always talked about when I was in my wilderness years, when I got fed up of magic years ago, I was really cynical about it. I thought it's all just about making money, and I was blinded by that, and I hadn't seen the kind of creativity in the community, both amateur and professional. which I think is just so rich and so inspiring. The last thing was Mark James doing his show, and this was interesting because he was doing all classic magic stuff. You know, everybody's talking about all this different stuff you can do on Zoom, and he was basically made the choice to go, no, I'm just going to do a nice magic show with classic magic in it, and it was all, you know, the stuff we've seen, and that's not taken anything away from it, but multiplying balls, you know, nice routine to music, you know, the 6-card repeat, the chop card, you know, stood up in a room that looked nice and looked great, and doing a show, and it was nice to see that. And you know, I've said with all this stuff, you know, doing a coin trick or doing something that just looks good, as if the audience is there, really, really works. We don't have to go down this route of doing all the mentalism stuff. It's great to do a bit of it, but he had, you know, it's all classic stuff, and, you know, finished with the multiplying bottles, and I really liked it, you know. So for some magicians it maybe would have been a bit, you know, we've seen a lot of those tricks before, but actually to see how it works and to watch it, I mean, I've got a very, very soft spot for classic magic and, you know, the traditional stuff, and I thought it was great. And he, you know, to do that, you know, in front of all those magicians and not look like you're absolutely terrified, I'd be in a mess. I'd be so it was great. So that was the whole thing. I don't think I've missed anybody out. Let me just look at what I was going to say. Yeah, the inspiration was great. I felt like I did actually learn something from every single person. I don't usually get that at conventions. Actually, a lot of stuff I kind of find it a very challenging way to learn. And part of it was, I suppose, because you're at home and you can kind of, you just feel like you can take it in. Part of it because I've actually slept a bit, like I haven't at a convention. I'm just walking around with painful hot feet, feeling all befuddled and upset, like I always am by day 2, and hungover and stuff. And but I did feel like I really, really learned stuff. And I've been in this, you know, looking at virtual magic for a year now, pretty constantly, and there was a lot for me. And I think there would have been a lot for a lot of people. Everybody was different. Everybody brought something different to the party. And I think that VI were very good at kind of making sure it didn't follow the same tropes, and it was like the same people saying the same things. And it was really, really varied. I've got a way of knowing when I'm into, when I watch something for a review, I take notes of the things that I think are mentionable for a review, that are worth note. If I'm really into it, I know it's something that I really like, because those notes very soon start turning into notes for me. And I've got an Evernote file of just so many notes that I'm not sharing with you now, but just my own learning. And it's a file that I put into I tag it, don't delete, you know, this is not just for a review. And this was definitely one of those ones that I'm going to reread, go back to. I'm going to, without a doubt, that video chat magic book. And I love doing virtual magic because I'm doing magic. You know, I'm still not. Yeah, I know it's not as good as being on stage, or it's different than being on stage, but it's still doing magic. And when I did my first virtual show not long ago, only just before Christmas, I was going, at least I'm doing something. So I think hats off to them for doing this. I know sometimes I sound like a bit of a Vanishing Ink fanboy, but I can't not say what I mean. It was, they're always pushing it and trying to do something new. And don't get me wrong, most of the organisations are as well. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I've been sitting there watching it all day today. So it takes a lot for me to not lose the will to live. I only needed to go out for a bit of a walk at one point, and actually had a 10-minute snooze. So, not because of the material, because I was knackered. So that's the thing. Let me just say hello to everybody. So people are shouting outside the office. Arpad, how you doing? Rob, 17 degrees and sunny. Spring may have sprung. Yeah, I went out earlier because I've been in here. I've got my curtains drawn, and I've been here all day. And I went out. I didn't notice sunny and warm. It's great. Indiana, how you doing, Mr. Wormy One? Managed. Saf Raphael, thank you. That's why I love this. I've got it written down, but when you write, you know, you write loads of notes, you're not going to remember them all. Like Seth Raphael, thank you so much. Magic Mask, yeah. If you want to see Jason Saran's show, he's got Showtime on. Yes, he has, hasn't he? Brilliant. And I am going to see that. Yay. Matthew Batts, thanks for all you do. Thank you, Matthew. That's really, really nice of you. Thank you. Hey, see you later, Hazza. I'm good, Matthew or Matteo. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Mathieu. But I'm really good, thank you. Thank you. And David Guevara. Hey, Steve, how are you, mate? So, there is my review thank you very much. We're going to be live nearly every Monday and Thursday. I was doing the Steve's Weekend Magic thing, which is kind of what this is. And this was my weekend watching, but I think it looks better maybe just to do live reviews of stuff I've been playing with, and because they're live, they're a little bit more all over the place, aren't they? And that's all right, isn't it? It's fun. So as I said, please like and subscribe. If you like these shows, please do feel free to share them. I'll come and answer some questions in a sec, but if for those of you who want to stick around for a couple of minutes, and check out cardmagiccourse.com, but also the free Spread Cold course. It's totally free, all right? And you'll be getting some really useful stuff from me. Some links to decent YouTube videos that I do that I think are useful, but also some blogs on enhancing your magic. And my rule is I don't want to send anything spammy out, and you've got to be able to unsubscribe super quickly, all right? So I want stuff that I think will be of value, that's of value to me, that I can share with this lovely community. So, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request on Facebook. No worries at all, man. It sounds like, based on this experience, we should try and catch up with the VI virtual convention, which I think is still coming up. Yeah, so the virtual convention, no, that's what this is, the connected convention. But it's going to be, I don't get connected because the other things are called connected, aren't they? Oh, the actual you want about the actual session, like, yeah, that's going to be virtual and live, isn't it? But this is going to be available to buy as well. And if you want to get into virtual magic, and I mean, I've only skimmed the surface. There was so much work here. You know, there's so much that was great. So check it out. And obviously check out the video chat magic book as well that's coming out. It's going to be great, man. So love the Card Magic course, Gid, and the lives every week are brilliant. Thank you, mate. I'm glad you like it. So listen, take care, everyone. Do all the good stuff. Thank you so, so much. It is never taken for granted. And have a great one. Stay safe. All right. Bye-bye.